Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review we are looking at the Marvel Legends Captain America Civil War Wave Iron Man. This is his new suit, which is an all-new figure, so that's a good thing. It's particularly thick, at least it's thicker than the old one, so we don't have to worry about him looking too skinny like we often have, and he's got some cool accessories. He's got some decent paintwork, but he's also got some fairly significant flaws. So let's get him off the stand. We'll go through all of it and you'll be able to decide if you want to pick one up or not. This guy stands at just over 17 centimeters, which makes him just about 6 3/4 inches, right around there. So he's not too small, and you can see he's pretty thick. However, from the top up, he's pretty good. But if you look at his legs, they're kind of small. They don't really fit the character. They need to be a little bit, maybe like 10% larger, thicker and longer. Because if he had a human body inside that leg armor, it wouldn't be very much human body at all. Same thing can be said of the arms. They seem a little thin, but they're also kind of bulky in certain places like the hands. And it just looks a little bit better on the upper body than the lower legs. You may not notice it, so if that's the case, then it's not a big deal. It's just slightly out of proportion. The best thing about this guy, I think, is the head sculpt and paint. They did a really good job. I mean, mostly it's credit to the movie because that's what he looks like in the movie, but they nailed it. Looks really good, and the paint's pretty clean. You can even see some silver in there by the jaw. So overall, the paint job's really good on this guy. There are some flaws here and there, but it's a fairly decent paint job. Would have been nice to have the red actually be metallic, like the gold and silver, but you can't really expect too much from Hasbro because they will do whatever they can to save money, it seems. So it's a bit disappointing. There's no wash or anything going on with the red, but it's not terrible. Looks pretty good for the most part. Now, he does have some accessories. You see the 2 fist hands on him there. We also get some repulsor blast hands, which are only good for using the other accessories. There's no paint job on there, obviously, because there's a hole. But that's okay because we get some pretty decent repulsor blast accessories. And the cool thing about these is they come mostly out of the center of the palm. Unlike the last couple of the SH figure arts, they came kind of out at an angle. These look pretty good, and they're translucent bluish white plastic with a little bit of white shading on there. So I'm very pleased that they included those. So that's kind of a good thing. We have one for either side, so you can do that. That's good. Now the problem is, his shoulders are really limited, so it's going to be almost impossible for you to pose him effectively with those repulsor blast hands. So let's run through the articulation. The head is on a ball peg that has the hinge, so you can lean the head back pretty far, if I can get it back on. You can lean it back pretty far, and then you can lean the body back the rest of the way. It's not perfect, but it's good enough for a flight pose. Then, of course, it moves around, no problem at all, no big deal. Now, this shoulder pad is completely fixed. There's no moving it at all. So you can't get the arms up any higher than that. That's it. You can rotate them and put them that way, but you still can't bring the arms back at all. So you cannot get the arms out to his side to fire a repulsor blast. You're going to have to use the bicep swivel and elbows to get the hands up where you want them. Which I guess is okay, but it's definitely not good. Definitely not what you want. Now, the elbows do work pretty well, and it's kind of a unique design that's not particularly good looking, but it's not terribly ugly, so I guess that's okay, but the shoulders are super limited. They look good. You can barely see the joint, but they are really, really limited. You already saw the wrists have a swivel and a hinge in there. It feels like the torso's a double ball peg to me, but doesn't lean super far forward, just a little bit, and it leans back pretty far. That's so that you can get that flight pose. It does lean side to side a little bit, and of course has the full rotation. Now the hips are even worse than the shoulders. If you try to pose the hips, you can't. That one just snapped too. You can kind of get them to stick at some point, but then the least little bit, they don't want to stay. They tend to snap back after a couple of seconds. So you can't bring them very far forward at all, basically just for a walking pose, and you can't bring them out to the side at all. Now, the joint's hidden nicely, so that's okay, but there's no posability, so that's kind of useless. We do have our thigh swivel built in there. Our double jointed knee works just fine. And then we have our ankles, which go pretty far forward, pretty far back, and we have the ankle rocker built in. But it's just almost impossible to pose him doing anything other than standing still thanks to the hips and shoulders. Because as I've said before, If you have good articulation from the elbow down but a horrible shoulder, it's almost unusable. And same thing, if everything's good from the thigh down but have a horrible hip, it's unusable. And that is the case with this guy. It's got the makings of a good figure, but that really bad articulation has kept it from actually being a good figure. So it's okay. It's going to be a nice addition to the armory, but don't expect to be able to pose him particularly well. There you go, guys. If you do want to pick it up, these are available for pre-order at BBTS, so check that link in the description below. And make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can see my upcoming figure reviews, custom figures, and other good stuff. And in the meantime, keep collecting.